Welcome to Section 420, Talkin Yankees. Well, Yankee fans get exactly what they wanted to get Aaron Judge under the Christmas tree, which we figured was going to happen, for the tune of $360 million. So we'll get into the whole Judge deal, the backstory to it, a little drama with the Giants and San Diego Padres, which tried to come in the last minute there to steal him, plus other moves around baseball, a lot of money being thrown around, just at the wake of the winter meeting. So we'll get into all that, get you caught up, especially with what's going on in Beantown now up in Boston, some weird moves by then. But before we get into all that, make sure you subscribe. There's an audio version podcast of this show. So if you want additional Section 420 Talkin Yankees content, go wherever you get your favorite podcast. Hit up Section 420 Talkin Yankees, subscribe, follow, like, and get notified when new content goes up throughout the rest of the offseason. Now, last episode here, if you watch, obviously the focus is on Brian Cashman and the fact the Yankees brought him back for 4 years to be the GM, which again wasn't a really surprising move at the time. We just felt he was going to be back, just based on what Hal was talking and Cashman was giving a press conference even when he was out of contract. So you knew he was going to come back in some capacity. Was 4 years a little too much? Not much, but maybe didn't expect that many. But nevertheless, he was back, and you kind of figured that right after that is that when the Yankees were going to really go heavy after Judge. I'm sure there was talks all along, but it's just kind of weird to for the Yankees to sign Judge, but you still don't officially have a GM there. So you figure as soon as they got Cashman squared away, then the Judge stuff was going to get hot and heavy, and kind of did pretty much right after the previous episode finally came down. Now, the whole backstory to this really was that Judge, obviously we knew beforehand he did meet with the San Francisco Giants, and there was kind of an official offer made to him by the Giants, which was pretty much the same offer he got from the Yankees. It was going to be $9 million, 9 years at $360 million, making $40 million per year. That was the offer. It looks like the Yankee offer was basically 1 year less than that. It was only 8 years for $320 million. So still giving Judge $40 million per year, but it looks like the Giants were at least willing to offer Judge the ninth year. The Yankee wasn't. And then San Diego heard little rumors that they actually came in the back door and kind of didn't make an official offer, but it's kind of verbally say, hey, look, we'll give you 10 years at $400 million. So supposedly the Padres were basically ready to outbid everybody. So I guess at that point, Judge contacted Hal Steinbrenner. He happened to be over to Italy, visiting the Pope and doing all that great stuff. And I guess a call was made, hey, look, Hal, I got an offer on the table from the Giants for 9 years. If you can match it, I'd like to stay a Yankee. And I guess Hal just said, what's another year? Doesn't make a difference with that. Gave the nod, and so that made it official. The Judge, can't put it out there that, yes, he will be officially re-signing with the New York Yankees. So the Giants made a strong push for him, but Judge stayed with the Yankees, and you kind of figured that's where Judge wanted to be. I mean, I know the Giants are Judge's team as a kid growing up there, but just to be a New York Yankee, all Judge accomplished as a Yankee, and his legacy moving forward, again, helps to have those pinstripes. Just when there's any sort of Hall of Fame or there's any accolades coming down the road, it just looks good to spend your whole career in pinstripes, and it kind of looks like that's what's going to be the case with Aaron Judge. So good decision by him. You kind of knew he was going to make that decision. There was all these little hints out there. We saw Judge, of course, with the New York nothing jersey on there. And even, of course, after the season ended, him and Stanton were at the New York Marathon. I think Judge's wife ran into that. Judge had a charity dinner in New York where a bunch of Yankees came out to visit. So even though he wasn't officially a New York Yankee anymore contract-wise, he was still hanging around New York, hanging around the team, and kind of just giving all these signals and hints. So again, you're not really shocked that he made the decision. Again, I told you all the previous episodes that very most likely the Yankees are going to resign him, as long as there's nothing too crazy. I don't think the Yankees would go $400 million on him or $420 on him. But again, as long as the money was close with another team, I think the Yankees would try their best to match it or stay close, give Judge the excuse to come here, and nevertheless, that's what happened. So Aaron Judge, again, will be a New York Yankee for the next 9 years. Now he's 30 years old, so you look at this, you're going to get probably, 4 or 5 still really good, high-quality, all-star caliber type years. And then after that, of course, it's going to be maybe a bit of a haggle. And again, the Yankees have been through this. You remember the A-Rod contract the last few years were pretty bad there. You look at the Mark Teixeira with, the injuries he had later in that contract. So in the end, again, you're going to have to pay for a little bit. And you see kind of what's going on right now with Yankees currently with Giancarlo Stanton. I mean, he's only a couple of years older than Judge, but it seems like he's breaking down a little bit. And so you're probably going to experience some of that with Judge. Now, I don't think it'll be as bad because I just think Judge is athletic. I think he's more athletic than a Mark Teixeira or Giancarlo Stanton. So, I don't think he's going to disintegrate quickly. But again, this is just going to be a situation where 5 to 6 years down the road, all the radio stations, fans will be calling, oh my God, this is a terrible contract. Why did we sign him? Blah, 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 blah. But remember, at the end of the day, that, hey, look, this is what pretty much all the fans wanted. And Judge, again, decided to stay a New York Yankee. So, again, next time he goes 0 for 4 in a game like that, you want to boo him, may want to consider that he could have just easily bolted for the Giants or even the Padres. So, kind of want to keep that in mind. But nevertheless, the Yankees accomplished what they needed to do. They needed Aaron Judge. And Not because of the 62 home runs, but he really, I mean, look at last season. I mean, he really was the backbone for the whole team. I know he got a good season out of Anthony Rizzo. Trevino surprised you a little bit. But if you look at the rest of the team, and Judge pretty much carried his team. A lot of big hits, a lot of big home runs in key spots, and a lot of down years for other Yankees that kind of Judge, kind of covered that up with Band-Aids. You didn't notice that. I mean, you did not get a good season from DJ LeMahieu, even though it was a little better than 2021. But again, and ultimately he ended up getting hurt at the end of the season. Not really get a good season out of Donaldson. IKF was okay, but he was like, I think he came on strong early, but as the year went on, he tapered off. Jose Trevino, again, an all-star, good, but again, as that season went on, he kind of dropped off a little bit. Of course, we know Aaron Hicks was terrible. Giancarlo Stanton, first half of the season was great, made the all-star team, but of course, the second half was pretty much a non-factor, non-show. Really gave you nothing in the second half there. So Judge really carried this team, not just with the 62 home runs, but really the whole way. Didn't get hurt, stayed healthy, answered the bell, the whole 9 yards. So the Yankees needed to do this move. If they did not bring back Aaron Judge, I don't know how they could have made up for his production. And without Aaron Judge last season, again, the Yankees maybe just a couple of games over 500 at best. The pitching was relatively good, but offensive-wise, it was just everything was built around Judge. So again, good move by the Yankees to bring him back. Again, you're probably going to complain about this contract a couple of years from now, but you worry about that then. We'll see how the team, the franchise at that point, right now, mission accomplished. You got back Rizzo, you got back Judge. But of course, now this team still has to make some more moves. So you see, you're hearing all types of different rumors out there, what they might be doing. You hear that there might be this, you were hearing before that the Yankees were working on something big, top secret, which really turned out to be nothing so far. They were looking at some other, they were saying maybe the Yankees would be interested in Carlos Correa. I didn't think that was ever possible. You're also hearing some rumors that the Yankees might be contacting San Diego, inquiring about Fernando Tatis Jr. Again, another shortstop. But again, even I don't think any of those moves made sense for a couple of reasons. But let's look at both of them. First of all, Carlos Correa ultimately does not go to the Yankees. I guess all the money that the Giants had that they didn't spend Aaron Judge, they offered to Carlos Correa. So Carlos Correa going to the San Francisco Giants for the tune of $350 million for a 13-year commitment. So Correa right now 28, so this contract is going to take him into his early 40s with the Giants there. So it's just an insane amount of money. But I didn't think the Yankees were ever going to be in on him, just for the fact that they did settle with IKF for an arbitration contract, and Cashman has put out there that again they're really looking for Volpe to be the future there. So why would you bring in a shortstop? This didn't make sense. So I never thought there was anything to those Carlos Correa rumors. So again, this didn't make sense. Why would you if you're gonna you have IKF there kind of holding down the fort until Volpe is ready, and maybe you do see Volpe at some point in 2023. And as for the Fernando Tatis Jr., why would you want any part of that contract? I mean, his contract currently, he signed a 14-year deal. It takes him through 2034. I mean, you want to be paying this guy for the next, almost next dozen years or so. It just doesn't make sense like that. I know he's only making like $24 million per year, which, hey, down the road that might be a bargain for a shortstop. But it's a long-term commitment. You would have to stick with that guy. I don't see the Yankees doing that just for the fact that you're now on the hook with Judge now for 9 years. You want to be paying this guy for just as long or even longer. It doesn't make sense. And Tatis, look, a great, phenomenal hitter, and I understand why San Diego made that long-term deal for him. But first of all, you have some recent wrist injuries, which you got to be worried about. Plus, had that whole PED issue where I used some product for my hair. I didn't know what that. If you want to believe the story or not, but it might be a bit of a knucklehead. But not even that, just for the fact that the guy's on the hook till 2034. Just look right now. That's another 12 years from right now of all our lives, and to go for that contract wouldn't make sense for the Yankees. So I don't think there's any truth to that. And of course, I didn't think there was any truth to Carlos Correa, and he ended up going to San Francisco. And goodbye from him. Surprised the Twins didn't try to re-sign him. There was talk that the Twins did want to retain Correa or make him the biggest offer in the franchise history. Perhaps they did, but I guess the Giants, again, had a lot of money coming off the books last year, so they just had money to spend. So I guess they made the bigger offer. So Correa, goodbye. He goes off to San Francisco, and he's been dealing with some back issues a couple seasons. So for the Yankees, I didn't really want any part of him there. So you're not surprised. And for Aaron Judge now, at some point now they're going to put the C on him. Since he's been up here since 2016, and of course he's going to be here now, for the next 9 years. So he's going to be the captain. He is the captain already, but I'm sure has to be some point during this season they'll make an announcement, have a little ceremony where he'll be the new Yankee captain. So he'll be the first captain since Derek Jeter there. So you just know that one's coming around the corner. And as for other moves in free agency, we'll get into that mainly with the Red Sox. Really puzzling because they bring in a couple of pieces, would you say good, but then they let Xander Bogaerts go to San Diego. So kind of puzzling there. So, we're going to look into that. But before we look at the rival Red Sox, we'll just stay in Yankee land for a moment. shortly before the Judge signing, kind of a little bit under the radar, didn't get much notoriety, but the Yankees also re-signed Tommy Kahnle, or at least, I guess, reunited with him. Again, originally they had Tommy Kahnle back in 2017. Came in a three-player trade, and that's when the Yankees kind of made that push there. They also got Todd Frazier as well as David Robertson in that deal. But Kahnle, proved actually to be probably the best out of that group there, just the way he pitched during the 2017 playoff run there for the Yankees. Well, he comes back to the Yankees, 2-year deal at $11.5 million. So again, almost making about $6 million per year. You can make the argument that maybe the Yankees overpaid for him a little bit, but I think it was a good move by Cashman. Again, I've been saying over and over, whether it's here or on the audio podcast, that the Yankees need to bring in a lot of arms here, and I think Kahnle's a good arm to bring in now. Again, first go around the Yankees was pretty successful. Had a good 2018 afterwards, but 2019 wasn't good for him, and then, of course, had some injury issues and wasn't able to pitch pretty much at all in 2020. She went down with the Tommy John there, and, of course, the Yankees, he ended up opting out of that current deal he had at the time. Did re-sign with the Dodgers. Now, last season only pitched 12 innings, so not exactly a ton to go on. So, again, a little bit risky move for the Yankees, and I don't see why they had to pay so much for him, nor give 2 years. But nevertheless, they bring him in here. Only 33 years old, so, still relatively young. But, again, the Yankees should just keep bringing arms like this in there, just bolster up that bullpen, just because the Yankees were kind of caught short by the time September and October came around last season. And, Kahnle's a bit of a, character. If you may remember back in the day, he would be in the clubhouse, like, rolling on the floor and doing funny videos, or let's say it's a rain delay and they have the tarp out in the field. He's the type of guy that would slide on that tarp just to. So, kind of a fun guy, clubhouse guy. Probably would just get along good with the others. And, of course, the Yankees, with Yes Network, they're probably going to start doing with some skits with him and Nestor and stuff like that to try to get a little comedy out of him. Again, Tommy Kahnle can do that for you. As a pitcher, again, probably doesn't have the 98, 99 mile per hour fastball anymore, but still a little bit more crafty. Still has the good off-speed pitch. So, again, he's effective both against righties and lefties. And, again, I just think it was a good move for the Yankees to bring him in here. And, again, I'd like to see more arms like that from Brian Cashman. So, I guess with all this oodles of money being thrown around and millions, Xander Bogaerts of the Red Sox figured he wanted to cash in. So, it's kind of a weird little scenario back and forth what happened with the Red Sox. So, they bring in Masataka Yoshida in, Japanese import, for the tune of 5 years, $90 million. And plus, since they were dealing with the Japanese team there was a $15 million posting fee. So the total deal for the Red Sox was $105 million. They're bringing this guy. Now he's a right-handed hitter and outfielder. His average, career batting average out there in Japan is .320. So you figure, how does that translate here in American ball? He'll probably be around a 300 hitter, more or less. Had 21 home runs previous season, so not really a big power hitter. So again, translate into this game, maybe hits about 12 to 15 home runs for him, but definitely not the production of Xander Bogaerts, which has been here with the Red Sox for a couple of years now. Now, he ended up opting out of his deal. He had 3 years left on it, but he opted out, mainly because he probably just wanted to get some more long-term securities to see what all these other guys are getting there. So you don't kind of blame him for that. Again, he's only 30 years old, so relatively young. He probably just want to be caught out to dry where, the current contract would end when he was at age 33, 34, and then, at that point, no one's really going to give you a long-term deal. So you kind of understand why you want to do that at 30 years old. And again, a good quality player from the Boston Red Sox, but he ended up actually bolting for San Diego for 11 years, $280 million. So that contract will take him through his 40th birthday. But it's kind of weird that the Red Sox would let him go like that. Again, his good young player came up with their system, very productive for them. Still relatively young, again, 30 years old. Shortstop, again, you don't get too many, power hitting shortstops like that, or at least shortstop they could put up good numbers like that and good defense. And it's just kind of curious they let him walk like that. But you bring in Yoshida, who, again, he's a good play, okay, but like Bogaerts is your guy. He's like, you just let him walk away like that. And very curious, this is the way they also did that with Mookie Betts. They shipped him out to Los Angeles a couple of years ago with David Price in that deal. And again, just very kind of curious. I mean, Mookie Betts was a great all-star caliber player, possible MVP type caliber player, and you just trade him away like that. So not really sure what they're doing up in Boston there. Why they kind of let their big superstars go like that? This is kind of puzzling. And they kind of like have 1 foot in, 1 foot out. So they bring in Yoshida as well as Kensley Jansen, you remember the closer from most recently the Braves, but of course they spent a lot of years in the Dodgers system. Now, Boston, again, for years have had bullpen problems, especially as a closer. They've been doing that kind of closer by committee there. So they kind of bring in Yoshida. They kind of, all right, try to solidify that bullpen, which is, again, hasn't been good really since 2019. Finally make those moves, but then you let someone like Xander Bogaerts go away to San Diego like that. So really puzzling where Boston's head's at right now. Last season they finished in last place there. Again, had a miserable season. And so but it doesn't seem like, if you want to make a big splash and you kind of say, hey, tell your fans, like, hey, we're going to get back into this, doesn't seem like they're really doing that. It seems like they're just kind of waiting in the weeds a little bit. Again, they still have Chris Sale on the contract there, and that's just been a disaster for them. So I don't know, they just might be taking 2023 off more or less and just kind of winging the weeds there because, Toronto's improved themselves. The Yankees are kind of holding course right now, but you still feel the Yankees are going to do a couple more moves. Tampa is kind of floating around. They haven't really done anything major. In fact, they've lost a couple of pieces. But you got the Baltimore Orioles now on the rise. Again, they had a good 2022 them. And again, even towards the end of the season there, made a little bit play for the wild card. Didn't get there, fell short. But now they're going to be better. So you figure out Boston want to get their foot back in to say, hey, we're one of the teams in the AL East too. But it doesn't seem like they're doing that there. So this is kind of curious. And another thing when you look at with San Diego, I mean, it just seems weird. People are curious, like, where are they getting all this money all of a sudden? Again, they had the $300 million deal from Machado. They bring in Juan Soto. Now, they got Soto under contract for 1 year. You assume they're going to try to want to re-sign him long term, but we'll see what the case is. Of course, as I mentioned before, the huge mega deal they gave to Fernando Tatis Jr., and the fact that now they signed Xander Bogaerts, and they were possibly looking to sign Aaron Judge. And I don't know if, because since they didn't sign Aaron Judge, they kind of threw that money at Bogaerts. Possibility there, but it seems like San Diego now wants to be big players out there. And, not sure we can how that happened all of a sudden, but nevertheless they are. But again, going back to the Red Sox, it just seems like they're going to kind of sleepwalk a little bit through 2023. Again, I don't want to say too much of that because we kind of figured that a couple of years ago in 2019 that they were going to do that, and they ended up having a pretty darn good season. So we'll see what they have up the sleeve there, but for now it seems like the Red Sox are pretty much going to be, pretty much what they were last year, maybe a fourth or fifth, place team. An AL East team that is making positive moves is the Toronto Blue Jays. Signed Chris Bassett, the pitcher. Now he was with the Mets, last season, and it seemed like the Mets did want to resign him. There was interest in coming back, but nevertheless he goes across the border to Canada for the tune of 3 years at $63 million. So getting a little over $20 million per season. Now, is he really worth that? Probably not, but again, you've just seen a lot of this crazy money being thrown around, and who knows if inflation or anything like that has to do with it. But nevertheless, he'll be in a Blue Jay uniform for the next 3 seasons, and again, that does affect the Yankees, because the Yankees are going to be facing Toronto a number of times this season. And if you look at Bassett, with the Mets last season, DeGrom lost a lot of time, Scherzer missed a lot of time, and it was pitchers like Bassett that kept that team pretty much going, and they were, again, a 100-plus win team. So, again, a good quality pitcher them. I don't think it's someone the Yankees were going to look at all. Really, for the Yankees, you're hearing that Carlos Rendon would be the target for them. Again, that would be the big additional move. That would just be, I think would be like the one over. Again, you knew they were going to bring back Rizzo, you knew they were going to bring back Judge, but you still have to now add, because you were a team that, again, that kind of fell flat there and got swept by the Astros. So now if you can bring in a good quality left-hander like Rendon, that would be good at the end. So now you look at a rotation. Again, we have Cole. You slot Rendon as your number 2, even though you get jumbled around the rest of the season. But nevertheless, they're throwing him out there. Severino, who they picked up his option, be your number 3. Then, of course, you have Nestor Cortez, Mr. Olympian now, pitching the World Baseball Classic, as your number 4. And, of course, at number 5, Frankie Montas. Again, actually a huge disappointment from last season, but maybe now starting fresh in the Yankee uniform with a full season, full spring training. Maybe he gives you a little bit more than he gave you last season. And now you look at a pretty substantial rotation there, and especially with the top 3, Cole, Rondon, Severino. I mean, that's the top 3 there that you look, all right, that's a unit that you want to go into playoffs with, again, pending everyone's healthy there. And also the Toronto Blue Jays adding Kevin Kiermaier, again, formerly of the Tampa Bay Rays there. Not really a great hitter, but of course known for his defense more, but kind of a pesky guy. He would always seem like just get a little big hit against the Yankees, like a little bloop to just barely get into the outfield there. So nevertheless, now you would like to get him out of the division, but now he's going to be in a Blue Jay uniform. So again, the Yankees are still going to have to contend with him. And since it's relevant for New York, and we mentioned in the previous episode with Jacob deGrom signing that big 5-year deal, $185 million to go to Texas Rangers. Well, he gave his press conference over there, and just kind of have to mention it. I don't know if you caught that there, but he basically said he spoke with the owner, and like who's just so enamored by the owner's dedication to want to bring a ring there that's why he wanted to join that franchise. Which that makes absolutely no sense. I mean, just say, look, they offered me 5 years, they offered me more money. Don't say you want to go to Texas Rangers. Again, a team that was like 20 games under 500 last season. And again, they're in a division competing with the Houston Astros and again, a surging Seattle Mariner franchise right now. Even with DeGrom, they don't really have any shot at all to do anything there. So, I mean, don't say that you're going there to win a championship. Just say, look, it's warmer weather, no state taxes, save some money there, and, I just wanted to get out of New York, and they offered me more money. Just say that. Don't say you want to win a championship to go to Texas Rangers. Texas Rangers are at least at a minimum 3 or 4 years away from really scratching the surface of, doing anything significant there in terms of the postseason. So, bad move by DeGrom there. But, with the Mets anyway, they still recovered. Again, they recovered with Verlander, so, again, at least for the next year or two, I think they covered there, with that move for DeGrom. And DeGrom, again, somebody you wouldn't want to give a long-term deal with because he gets hurt left and right. And, of course, Stephen Cohen, keep the pedal on the metal. Also, they retained Brandon Nimmo for 8 years, $162 million. Again, is that overpaying for the guy a little bit? Probably. I mean, I can't say I watch a ton of Met baseball to see what his value is to the team. But, again, good outfield there, good leadoff hitter, very speedy. And, again, he's very disruptive on the bases there. He creates rallies and stuff like that. So, and, again, you can just see that Stevie Cohen, again, as soon as DeGrom fell off the board, boom, got Verlander right away. So, again, just sending the message out there that, again, they're not going to be, they're not going to lay back there a little bit. Now, the Mets still have a lot of work to do themselves there a little bit, probably. But, nevertheless, Stevie Cohen's still keeping the pedal to the metal. And I mentioned before, David Robertson actually signs with the Mets for a one-year deal. Now, that's someone actually maybe Brian Cashman may want to consider bringing as well, just for the fact that, been with the Yankees 2 previous times. Again, the former Yankee closer, he took over once Mariano retired there. Now, again, he's about 40 there, so you kind of worry about the age a little bit. But not that he has like a ton of injury history, but still is there maybe on the wrong side of 35 there. But nevertheless, he signs with the Mets for a one-year deal, so it kind of bolsters up their bullpen. Of course, before one of the first moves again in this offseason was them retaining Edward Diaz, so they keep him again. Probably we say right now the best closer in baseball, and of course now he'll have Robinson to help set up for him. And Robinson's a good story to see with him because again he kind of bounced out a little bit after leaving the Yankees, kind of lost out a little bit, then rediscovered himself with the Philadelphia Phillies. Actually pitched in the World Series last year, so kind of a little resurgence. So even though he's not in a Yankee uniform, it's good to see David Robinson, who came up as a Yankee and spent some years here, at least be able to continue his career, but unfortunately, he has to do it in a Met uniform. So, of course, Brian Cashman is going to be looking at a lot of options. I mentioned before Rodon as a starting pitcher, but you want to look around the field, where can you improve this team? And, of course, everyone looks at 2 glaring areas and 2, pretty much bad contracts. Donaldson at third base, again at 36 years old. He only has 1 year left, but at $25 million, so it's hard to kind of move that contract. And, of course, Aaron Hicks, again, the contract just keeps on giving out there in center field. 2 years left on that deal, making a lot of money. Of course, he's been just injury prone the past few years. So Cashman probably has to try to find a way to move either both or one of those pieces. I mean, that would be an improvement on the team there. But again, in order to give something, you have to get something to sort of give away. So might have to include a situation where maybe you have to include someone like Gleyber Torres, who again gives you some decent production for the amount of money he makes. Again, he's still on the contract, so that would make him appetizing for some teams. Similar to remember a season ago when the Yankees shipped out Gary Sanchez, they had to include Gio Urshela. Now again, a lot of people didn't want to lose Gio Urshela, but in order to get Sanchez off their hands, they had to include Urshela in the deal. So you may see something similar to that if Cashman's able to find a taker for either Hicks or Donaldson. Getting rid of both would be great there. So that would be something that Cashman may want to look at. Also, again, I mentioned before that bringing the bullpens out, which is going to be important there. But also, you have to kind of wonder what role is DJ LeMay going to have with this team. We don't have a final verdict on what's going on with the foot there. Is he going to have surgery? Is he going to have some other type of recovery? Is he going to be available to start the season? And where are you going to play him? So if you are able to move Donaldson, and again, if DJ is able to function and play, of course that would be your logical conclusion where you put him at third base there. But again, if they end up moving Gleyber and sort of deal, now that leaves a hole there at second base, then maybe of course you would see then DJ there at second base there. So kind of things got to look at, but of course you got to see if DJ is going to even be healthy, and we don't even know that. And of course we got some of the young guys coming up, as well as Oswaldo Cabrera. Again, we've seen him be able to play multiple positions, so he could play some time at shortstop and or third base. And of course Oswald Peraza, who was only up for a cup of coffee last season, but had 1 home run in Texas. But in that game they started him in game 2 in the Houston series there. Defensively at shortstop, he looked great there. I mean, he looked like a veteran, wasn't phased by all. So maybe that could be an option there at some point if the Yankees end up moving Gleyber and or IKF in some sort of package deal to get rid of those 2 bad contracts. And you're also hearing a little noise that the Yankees are looking to move the Giancarlo Stanton contract. Now, again, I think that would help the Yankees a lot, but of course, I just don't see that as a possibility. Again, he still has a number of years left, and he's making oodles of money, and again, he's hurt a lot. So I just don't see there'll be any takers for him, unless, again, Cashman has to include like some major top prospects, which I don't think Cashman's looking to get rid of just to get rid of the contract. So I think with Stanton there, he's kind of hold down the fort. Hope he can stay relatively healthy. Again, last season, again, he got off to an all-star start there, played in the all-star game, was the all-star MVP, had a big home run there. They kind of swing the score there. But nevertheless, that was during a period where he was kind of hurt, and people questioned, should he really play in this game? I don't know if it was really a big deal or not. Again, he's playing in front of his home, California, family there and stuff like that. So for him wanting to play in that one game, I don't think it was a big deal. But of course, soon after that, he was on the IL, pretty seemingly for a chunk of while, came back, and just wasn't the same. I know he had a big home run during the Cleveland, the Game 5 decided there at Yankee Stadium. That kind of put the game away pretty early for the Yankees game, like a 4-1 lead. But nevertheless, kind of a disappointing second half for him. And again, he's getting another year older. So again, but I just don't think anyone's going to want to take the contract. So you're going to look for him at least be a New York Yankee for the next foreseeable future. I like that, at least the last 2 seasons they've let him play the outfield a little bit, and it's kind of seemed to help him at the plate a little bit. And there's times when he's hot, he can carry the team. But unfortunately, it just seems he always has these injuries over and over with the calf and the leg and the feet like that. So you just got to cross your fingers that he can stay conditioned there. And for the Yankees, I would almost keep him as the full-time DH just for now. I know he can play the field a little bit, but it just seems like he gets hurt so much. So we don't know what is he doing on the base paths, is he doing the outfield, we're not sure. But the Yankees have at least enough outfielders in the mix now where they don't need Stanton to play out there. Maybe just once in a blue moon just for the heck of it, just to get him off his feet a little bit. But other than that, you want to keep Judge in right field. You have Harrison Bader in center. Left field is a bit of a platoon situation, but I don't think you need Stanton out there. I'd rather Stanton just stay as a DH and just try to save those Achilles, save those calves, just for the important at-bats. So we're seeing what the theme is in baseball now. It's these long-term ridiculous deals that we didn't see foreseeable years ago. But it seems now like the players are getting they're kind of getting the edge now. We kind of had to combat before with the players and the owners. It seems like now the players are cashing in more. You see a lot of players complain, like, being in a situation like Aaron Judge where they can't get their big contract until they hit 30. Now you're seeing a lot of guys getting their big deals before 30 or just around 30. And of course, mainly Judge. You mentioned before the 28-year-old Carlos Correa. Of course, Trey Turner cashing in at a young age. Xander Bogaerts just turning 30, getting his $280 million. So it seems like now the players kind of got the bit of the upper hand after maybe years. Owners were kind of getting, maybe taking advantage of the situation. Now some players getting the long-term deals, so maybe sort of balance out a little bit. And maybe that should help down the road if there's any ever talk about any lockout or strike or stuff like that. Well, now it looks like things are a little bit more on an even playing field, so probably prevent something like that from happening. But if you're a Yankee fan in Yankee land, you're happy, of course, because your guy got a 9-year deal. So this is what Yankee fans wanted. You wanted Aaron Judge, so they retained him. So far for the offseason for the Yankees, got to give him a high remark. And for any Yankee fans complaining that, Hal Steinbrenner doesn't spend his money like his father and Brian Cashman's cheap and all this stuff like that, I think the Yankees, when they target somebody, when they want to get somebody, they will spend the money. We saw that with Garrett Cole. We saw it now with Aaron Judge. And, of course, Aaron Judge, that's just the type of player you don't give away like that. I think there's some superstars where it's like, all right, you're not really a generational type player. You don't really miss them if they walk. I think Bernie in that type was sort of borderline, but they even wanted to keep Bernie. But whether it's Bernie, Jeter, Mariano, there's a certain players like that you just don't let walk. And I think Aaron Judge is that for this franchise. And of course, we'll see where it ends up. I don't know. He's on the road to the Hall of Fame, but again, definitely on a good path there. So we'll see where he ends up ultimately. But again, that's not a player you let away. And again, I don't think Yankee fans can complain that that the Steinbrenner family is cheap and they're not like the way they used to be. If they want to bring somebody in, they will get somebody in. And I mentioned before in the previous episode, the Yankees would probably have this wrapped up before Christmas, and they pretty much did. So I'm going to give myself a pat on the back like that. So for the year, I want to wish you a happy holiday season. Enjoy it. Hope you get some more Yankee gifts. And of course, have a happy new year.